breaking the wall to Indigenous-Led water security. Melissa Jackson, Griffith University, Australia.
Water is life, but it's easy to take it for granted when we literally have it on tap. But imagine if when you woke up this morning, went to make your morning coffee and no water came out of the tap. Or when it does come on hours later, it smells a bit funny and you're not sure if it's safe to drink. How would that be if that went on month after month, year after year? How would that affect your daily life? Well, this is the case for Indigenous Australians across Australia in remote areas. There's over 150,000 Indigenous people, over 1,200 communities in an area 22 times the size of Germany. Water systems are... the slides are in a slightly different order. The water systems and water security is under threat from climate change, both in the infrastructure and also in the way the rainfall patterns are changing. But also there's very high use in communities. This is often associated with poor infrastructure, poor housing maintenance, but also low water literacy levels in communities. English can often be a second or third or even fourth language, and service providers are based hundreds or even thousands of kilometres away. So often there's not much involvement of the community in decisions about how to solve these water issues. Indigenous Australians are the oldest continuing culture on the planet, and there's a wealth of knowledge in terms of caring for country and working in preservation for water. And they've been calling on governments for years to be able to work together and bring Indigenous culture into water resource management. Our project, the iKnow, weKnow project, is bringing together Indigenous cultural knowledge, local knowledge with the latest climate science and also digital tools including smartphones and smart water meters as well, to be able to come up with place-based localised responses to climate. We've got 4 pilot communities across the north of Australia. We have over 1,000 community members involved and 8 industry partners as well, including Indigenous organisations, and that includes researchers on our team who play a part as cultural advisors. And basically we put people and culture at the heart of our process. We sit down with them and ask them what are their priorities in their community, what are the issues they're facing, and in the first year we've come up with a suite of tools that we're going to be co-designing over the next 2 years, including a digital knowledge sharing platform, which includes a water savings app where we'll be co-designing the interface. You can see there down the bottom, it's quite technical information that comes out of the smart water meter data. So how can we make that in a way that's accessible and usable to the community members themselves? We're also developing up some videos, cultural water stories with elders talking about the importance of water and preserving it, and also some in-person engagement activities too, because digital accessibility is also a problem in some remote communities. So things like children's water storybooks and so on. And this work is built on the back of 8 years of collaborative research with Indigenous communities, where we were able to be the first people to bring in smart metering and community engagement in Indigenous Australia, and we're able to demonstrate that you could save 40% of water wastage, which means that there's more water available for the rest of the year for people. And this led to one of our service providers being able to roll out a program of smart meters and leak detection, and that led to water restrictions that have been in place for almost 2 decades being able to be lifted. And that has a real impact on the community members. We heard stories of the elders just being in tears talking about this. So going forward, we're working with the community to really listen to what their issues are. We're providing a platform that can be available long-term, both for the 4 communities that we're working with, but also because we're working with the service providers, breaking down those barriers and structural barriers to participation, so that will be able to be rolled out across communities across the north of Australia, and that we'll be able to have safe, secure and climate resilient water systems for now and future generations in Indigenous communities. Thank you.
Do we have any questions? Here, please. Yeah.
Hey, can you paint a picture about how a typical day looks like when you go out there engaging with these Indigenous communities?
Yeah, so it's often really hot. So we'll walk out there with our hats on. We've usually got some key contacts in the communities who've come on board. They're usually leaders, like maybe they work for the councils or the Indigenous Elders Councils, and they'll introduce us to people, and then we'll go and talk to them and say, would you like to participate in this project? We sit down and explain it to them, have a yarn. Sometimes we'll hold community events, so they often have, like, you can sit out at the shop, you have a barbecue, some food, you kind of like just have a bit of a chat with people. That one-on-one is really important in building trust. And because we've worked with some of these communities before as well, it's so much easier. We've really already got that relationship with them, so it's really important, that longevity for this program as well. So hence, building on the back of the other work, we've got some really good relationships where we can have that trust, and they know that we're there to, actually do what they would like to see happen, not what we're imposing from our own perspective.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we have one here. Wait.
Oh,
here first. It's okay. It's okay. Okay. Yeah, Olaf first.
So Melissa, you just you showed one of those pictures where you focus on a coastal area. Australia is a big continent. How do you cope with the fact that those indigenous people live in the midst of Australia, and how do you, digital access and all those challenges?
yeah, it's a real tricky one. So on this one, we've had 4 communities. We tried to get a geographic spread. So we've got tropical island up in the Torres Strait, one that's in the rainforests of northern Cape York, one in the arid desert region in the centre, and then another one over in the west. And so we're trying to understand from that how the different contexts, the governance, the geographic, the water context really impact on what we're developing. The accessibility, part of the preliminary process for coming together and approaching the communities was that they needed to have some mobile cell towers available as well. So there had to be some basic level, which most of the communities across Australia do have. People are quite reliant on their cell phones. Yeah.
So as a short follow-up, as it is a big country, the impact on, let's say, various areas might differ from coastal areas to the width of the continent.
Absolutely, and we've found in the Torres Strait, for example, there's actually a couple of legal cases that have been started from Torres Strait Islanders taking the Australian government to court about not acting more on climate change. So there's a higher literacy level around climate change. It's very similar to the Pacific nations as well, whereas in some of the other communities, that's not so much the case.
That's it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Sorry.
No.